Hello AWS friends. Today let's have a look on how to build and deploy your ECS service with Amazon CodePipeline. So in the last video we have seen how to create a ECS service, and in front of this the ECS cluster and the infrastructure for it. And now our service is running on ECS. Maybe let's have a look in advance if it's still available. So in my outputs of my service stack, we return the URL, and yes, here it is. It's available. And now we want to make some changes in our project. We want to commit and push it to Git. We want that CodePipeline is gonna make a Maven build and also create a new Docker image and push this to our ECR repository and update our services. That's what we're gonna do today. Maybe let's first have a look on CodePipeline by the console, by the web console, create a CodePipeline manually, and after this we create a CodePipeline with CloudFormation. And so let's get started. So let's first create a CodePipeline with the wizard on the web console. Gonna give it a name. Next step is important. So here we're gonna define the source provider. In my case it's Github. It's my Github account. You have also the choice for code commit and what is the third option? S3. And now I'm gonna connect to my Github account. Connected. Now I can select my repos, and I'm gonna select this project, which is my microservice for ECS, and the branch. When we do this with CloudFormation, we have also to enter a token to authorize, and the rest is similar like this. So these detection options we're gonna keep like it is. We have these webhooks which gonna notify our CodePipeline if there are any changes in our GitHub account, in our GitHub repository. So now also interesting part, the code build. We're gonna select AWS Codebuild. You can also build your project with the existing Jenkins, for example, but now we're gonna define our own code build project. So let's give it a name. Oh no, we want to create a new one. And now here are some interesting points. You have to remember this when we're going to create our CodePipeline with CloudFormation, and also it's important for our YAML file, our build spec YAML file in our project, to remember some things on here. That's an important point. The runtime you're gonna use for your build server. In my case I'm gonna use Docker. And there's a point about this. So as you can see here, you have some choices. For our case, Spring Boot application, so there should be two options actually. Of course we need Java. We will need to build our project with Maven, or even if you build it with Gradle, you should use Java. But we also have to create a Docker image. And for this, the best image is Docker. And these defined images by Amazon have one problem. The Java image don't know by yet Docker, though you can execute Docker commands, and the Docker image don't know Maven or Gradle commands. So we have to choose one of them and install the other in the install phase. And I'm gonna use the Docker image, and I'm going to install Maven on my machine. So pick the version. And here you can define another build spec, but as you can see by now, and I'm gonna say about this file a little bit more in detail later on. I have a standard build spec YAML. So we're gonna create a new service role, and the VPC in my case, let's have a look on the VPC. Don't know it by name. We have to choose our installed ECS VPC, so this is this one here. And now we have to choose subnets. Let's switch to subnets. So we want our private subnets, which is 19F and the 9F3. And now we have to select a security group. Let's have also a look, which is our security group. So for our host, load balancer security is 988. Let's pick this one. And now let's save our build project. And now we can continue. So we want to pick up, ECS, we want to deploy on our cluster, and also it's important to remember this for our CloudFormation stack later on. We need a cluster and we need a service. There's only one service running by now in our cluster, so here we have only one choice. And the image file name is this file on here, image definition JSON. And now we need a service role. There's one existing by now, but you can also create one. Let's pick this one, the review, and now let's create the pipeline. Pipeline is created, and I think it's also gonna start right now, but it's gonna take some time to build the project, and meanwhile we're gonna have a look in our Spring Boot service project to see the files we have to prepare for our CodeBuild project. So that's basically the build spec YAML and also the image definition JSON file. So let's have a look in our microservice project. We first take a look in the job. This is our pipeline, and as you can see, build was successful, and now the staging, the deployment to ECS is in progress. We're gonna redeploy this whole project in a second and take a look on the steps in detail. We do a little change to prove the new version is gonna be deployed. But first let's have a look in our project. So this is our Java project. As you have seen, this is our service, and maybe let's make also by now some change on here. Help AWS friends. CodeBuild project. So when we're going to deploy this, we're going to expect that our servers will print out this new line on here. So first important file to build a project on AWS Codebuild or CodePipeline is this build spec YAML. So as you can see here, you have phases. We have an install phase, a pre-build phase, a build phase, a post-build phase. And in our install phase, as I already have said in the overview when we created the project, the pipeline project, we we have chosen this Docker image, but it don't has a Java or a Maven installation. So in this installation phase you could use to make some updates on your CodeBuild machine or install a new software. In my case I'm installing Java and Maven. Now the build phase, in my case I am building my Spring Boot Java project with Maven. So that's basically this one command, and as you can see here by now I could also build this project with Gradle. So if you have a Gradle project you can just command these lines out and use a Gradle build. Next, after we have built our Java project, we have to create a new Docker image. This is this command. You already know this by our ECS video. I'm gonna tag it. These variables you can find on the top of my build spec YAML. And now once we have created the Docker image, we're gonna log in. Important thing is also here the region. You know, I'm in California by now. And then we're gonna push this image to our ECR. And then last are the output artifacts of our build project. In my case we're gonna need this jar file we're going to create and the image definition JSON. Let's have a look on this one. This is only defining the name of the task definition and the service. In my case it's Spring Boot, and this is the address where to push, or better for the deployment process, where to pull the new image. So by now maybe let's have a look to our project. It succeeded, so we have already built our project one time successfully. And now let's make another build. So what I'm gonna do by now, I made this change here in my Spring Boot service. Now let's commit this. So now I have pushed this to my GitHub account, and by now this push to my GitHub will trigger this project, and as you can see by here, it's already starting. So now it's in the first phase. It's gonna check out the new files from GitHub, and once this is completed, it's gonna make the build project. We're gonna pause for a second and have a look in detail on here when we are in the build project. I paused for 2 minutes and I'm back. So the source phase is completed, project was checked out from GitHub, and now we are on the build phase. So it's executing the build. Let's have a look on details. And as you can see on here, it's still on the install phase, so it's about to install your build machine, and it just have finished the install. So in our case now we had this Docker machine image, and we installed Java and Gradle to it. So now the pre-build phase, and we didn't do too much in the pre-build phase. Let's have a look in our build spec YAML. We didn't do nothing in here, and now we are on the build phase. So now the Maven build is in progress, as you can see here by now. And once the now we are already building the Docker image, as you can see, and now we are going to push the Docker image to our repo in ECS. This is gonna take some seconds, and I think this is gonna be the last step for our build phase. So we are pushing the Docker image, and once we have pushed the image, the build is completed. as you can see here by now. Success. So we can close this. Let's have a look on here. It still says build is in progress. Actually, I would expect to start the staging phase by now, but I think this is gonna happen in some second. Let's have a look on the ECS on our service. This is our existing service. As you can see here by now, we have two desired tasks that should run, and there are two really running. Now let's have a look, and this is our service, and here we can see the deployments. And by now we don't have a deployment by yet, we have only this one primary service, but once this phase is gonna be completed and our staging, yes, by now our staging is starting by yet. Let's wait a second. Yes, it's in progress. And by now, what is gonna happen now, the deployment will create here a new task. There are gonna be two more tasks running, and we're gonna have a primary and an active one. This is gonna be the active, and there's coming a new one up, so our updated service is gonna be the primary. And once the new primary is running, our old service, the old version, is gonna be shut down, and our new service should be available. Yes, as you can see here by now, this is our old one, and here is our new one. It's already running. By now we have 4 running tasks, and once the boot of this one is completed and when it's running, we should again see only 2 running tasks. Unfortunately, this is gonna take some seconds always, so we still have both of them running, but we can already have a look on our service if it's still the old one or already updated. Yes, it's all already updated, as you can see here by now. This was our old service, and now we already can reach our new one with the changes we have made in our project. So our code build is running, our pipeline is doing this job, and now since we have created this pipeline manually, let's try it. Can create this pipeline also with CloudFormation. I have a CloudFormation for this in my GitHub account. This is this one, the number 13, the pipeline. Let's have a look on it. So this is our pipeline stack. We define some parameters. Pipeline, important these GitHub parameters, the repository, the branch. You have seen this on the web console wizard, the GitHub user. You need a key for this KMS encryption for S3. This is the S3 bucket I'm using to upload the artifacts, network stack, and the cluster. And now what we're gonna create is a code build role itself, and we have a pipeline role. And now the most important part, this is our build project. I name it build Java, and here you can see we're defining this Docker image, same one we have chosen in our wizard. We are creating the pipeline itself, and here you can see the stages. We have number 1 source, GitHub, and we have here our parameters from the top. Our second stage is the build stage, and it's pointing to our build Java project. You have seen here on a little bit top of it. And the last stage is the deploy stage, deploy into dev environment, I call it. And it's, deploying to ECS container. That's it. It's a pretty simple stack, and let's try to install it. So, as you can see here, these are these parameters, and one is missing. Actually, two. I have to paste in two parameters in here. That's my GitHub account token, and I also have to paste in my KMS key. I'm gonna do this by now. So now we have entered this token in here and a valid KMS key. Let's create our new pipeline. And meanwhile, this pipeline is in creation. Let's have a look on our first one, which we have created manually. Still in progress, should be done by yet. But you have already seen our new service is available, so this should be completed pretty soon. And by now, we will create the same pipeline with CloudFormation. So you can use this CloudFormation stack and add it a little bit for your purpose and create your own pipeline. Let's have a look on these pipelines. By now this one is completed, pretty cool. And you see all three stages were successfully, and by now we should be able now to see our new one. Yes, this was our first one we have created with a wizard, and this is our pipeline we just have created with CloudFormation, and it's doing the same thing, exactly the same thing. And by now it already has started first execution, and this GitHub stage is succeeded, and now our Java build is in progress. So we don't have to wait for this pipeline to be completed. It's gonna do the same thing as our first one. Thanks for listening, and see you on the next lesson. Bye.